Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. We're just starting part 8 of the winter projects on the 1981 Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce, and we're having a look at the glove compartment or the glove box lid and the fit. And as you can probably see here, I have a little bit of a stick out, so we're trying to fix that to get that to fit a little bit more snugly against the dash top. So we're just having a look at the fixtures on the inside, and it looks as if we can play around with the catch here, and it looks like we can play around with the positioning of the plunger for the light switch as well. That looks like it can be moved back. This little stop over here looks like it's correctly positioned. It's not going to interfere with the door closing a little closer, so we don't have to move that side, but we'll play along with these. There's a couple of nuts, small nuts here. I don't know if you can see those or not, up under there, that we can make some adjustment to there. And then there's one Phillips screw here where we can sort of push that plunger back a little bit if required. I'm not sure if the light actually works in here. We'll check that as well. I just pulled the bulb, and it looks like the filament's still attached, so it should light up if this switch works. So maybe we'll attach the battery once we do our repairs and see if this actually works as far as the glove box light should. Alright, back in a bit. Get some tools. Let's check if we have a glove box light. You have to turn the ignition on. So glove box light is working. See if the switch works. That's working. So I was able to, let me turn the ignition back off. So I was able to get it to fit a little closer, but not 100%. But that definitely looks better than it did. So it's still got a little bit of a stick out, but not much. I think what's happened is, over the years, this is made of vinyl and plastic, so I think it's probably warped just a little bit, probably from the sun on this outside. But I think that looks much better than it did. It fits much better. So we're going to call that a success, and we'll move on to fitting the center console back in place and do a little work on those switches and get those back in place. Maybe do a little painting on the one switch, and we'll button all that up, and we'll come back and we'll start working maybe on that quarter light lock for the driver's side. Alright guys, the center console is back in place, and as you can probably see, let me just zoom in here for a sec. I do have the driver's side window switch back installed, and what I did is I took the passenger side switch, put it on the driver's side because it had less wear internally. A couple of you had suggested that in my comments, and I was planning on doing that anyway. I have the old driver's side switch here, which will now be the passenger switch, and as you can see, let me just zoom you back out. The paint is kind of wearing off a little bit on the up button. So I think what I was going to try to do is I was going to try to paint this a little bit. However, I think it's got so much wear on it, or wear from over the years, the little embossed or indentation has sort of been worn off, so I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. So, I mean, it's not horrible as it is, but I'd like to make it a little bit better if possible. So maybe we'll break out the toothpick or something and see if we can actually get a little paint to stick to this thing. Alright guys, the center console is now back installed, and we did do a little work on that button. I think it looks a little bit better. Again, it's hard to get the paint in there because the embossed line had kind of been worn away, but I think it looks better than it did, and that's kind of what we were going for. We did reverse the switches as mentioned, so all is good there. If you can believe it, the lighter still works. I tried that out. So I think we're on to the next project, which is going to be the quarter light lock. So we'll go ahead and we'll probably grab some acetone and a Q-tip and start removing the old glue from the quarter light window in order to put the new one on. Alright, if you don't know what I'm talking about as far as the quarter lights are concerned, here they are in operation, the front of the passenger side door. So I quite like the quarter lights. They're a nice option to have just to let a little breeze in if you have the windows up or the top up and you just want a little bit of extra breeze in the car. It's quite nice just to crack those open a little bit. Apparently these are known to pop off, so I guess there's frequent reapplication of these quarter light locks, but it seems to be hanging on here on the passenger side. So anyway, that just shuts. You can see the little marking here on the trim piece, and now I can see why that is. So anyway, that just shuts, and then the quarter light locks against the windshield or the window frame here, and then there's a little button here that'll pop out. There you go. Now that's locked. So obviously to release it, they push the button and just move the lever. So that is what the quarter light looks like. So we'll go ahead and we'll endeavor to install that on the driver's side. All right, let's go ahead and start the process. So here is the old location for the quarter light lock on the driver's side. Not sure if you can tell or not, but I've just put an outline marker around the location on the outside of the glass here, as we're going to clean up the inside of the glass with a razor blade and probably a little bit of acetone to make that completely clean. We are using this Permatex rearview mirror adhesive kit, and we've just read through the directions. They do supply the razor blade. They also supply like a little activator towelette, a little piece of sandpaper, and I think a little bit of cleaner. So there's everything that you need in this kit to bond. Generally, usually it's for a rear view mirror, but in this case we're going to be using it for the quarter light lock. Should work perfectly. So we're going to clean up the surfaces, including the surface of this, the back of the quarter light lock. It's got some old adhesive on it, so we'll clean that up as well. So we'll get everything prepared, and then we'll come back for the next step after we clean the current or the old adhesive off the location. All right, we've cleaned the quarter light off, and you can probably just see the location there indicated on the outside of the glass. Cleaned the back of the lock itself and did the little sanding process with the provided sandpaper. We're now on the cleaning and activation stage, and have this little towelette here to use. So we got to clean the glass itself and the back of the lock, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is the application of the adhesive. All right, guys, we've got the adhesive applied, and we've got a little bar clamp on here just holding it in place. So we'll let that set up for 30 minutes. We'll come back and we'll check the operation of it to make sure it works properly and it's stuck to the window. All right, guys, the quarter light lock is now installed and functioning as it should. So we'll cross another thing off the list. Hopefully that hangs on. It seems pretty solid. I was doing some pull-ups on it earlier. Anyway, let's move on to something else. Maybe we'll tackle that gas tank sending unit, see if we can just spin it so that the float is in the right direction, if it isn't currently. All right, let's see if we have a quick fix on the sender unit. So we've repositioned that to point sort of that angle towards the car over to the right side. So let's fire it up, and we'll see if we have any leaks at the pump first of all, and then we'll check the gauge. Well, no leaks there, that's good. I can't remember whether the gas tank was actually showing, I think it was showing empty before on the light, but I'm not sure. All right, let's check this out. Now, as mentioned, I'm not sure whether I had the red light on before. It's on now, but you see the needle didn't move. Well, check this out. I think the gauge was just sticking. So that looks to be about the amount of fuel that I have in the tank, somewhere around there. If I switch her off, it'll go back down. So I think that float is actually working. So we'll try it again once we get some more gas in it, but I think it's actually working and just sticking slightly on the lower range. All right, guys, we're going to make it a little bit shorter video for today. It is Sunday, and I do have to actually return to work tomorrow. Unfortunately, my Christmas vacation is over, and need to resume regular work hours tomorrow. So that will be restricting me to be out here and after work and on weekends. So the projects will be a little bit slower to progress. But anyway, I wanted to get out here and wrap those few small things up that we did today in order to cross some larger things off the list, and I've already done that, but we'll go back over here. So point number 5 was the window track and switches, and as you saw, we took the door panels off, lubed those tracks up. We cleaned the switches, we've reinstalled those. They are working as they should. So point number 5 has been crossed off. The quarter light locks, or the quarter light lock really, the driver's side was the only one that was the problematic one. So that's been reinstalled and is working as it should. So we've crossed number 6 off. The turn signal mechanism, the column switch, you saw me do that yesterday along with the Lynn's help. So point number 7 has been crossed off, and that only leaves another couple options, and we'll discuss those in just a second. So what do we have left on the list? So number 8 is tires, and although these tires look brand new, they definitely need to be replaced as they are quite old. So tires is still on the list to be done. The seat repair and interior detail, I'm going to consider almost as one point. I did have a chat with Alin yesterday about the stitching here on the driver's side seat, and he seems to think it might be a little bit more difficult repair than what I'm thinking. And of course, he is more of an expert than I am. I am no expert whatsoever, but he does know a guy who thinks he might be able to fix this. So as part of the interior detail, we're going to be pulling the seats out anyway so we can clean and vacuum the carpets. So we'll be able to take the seat for better analysis by a professional to see what we can do as far as fixing up the seat bottoms. And that only leaves point number 14 on the list. That is the add-ons for this car. And Doc and I have been talking about doing a few other small projects. He's interested in upgrading the lights potentially for the rear to LEDs, the turn signals, brake lights, etc. And is looking into the possibility of putting a third brake light on, so that might be something that we look at in the future. And there's a bunch of smaller things, some little detail touches he's talking about, possibility of getting a new shift knob. Actually, he's got 2 new shift knobs that he's sent to me already, as well as some other little trim details that we're going to discuss about whether he wants to actually put them on or not. He's now thinking he may want to go with a wood shift knob versus the, I think he sent me a black plastic shift knob and a chrome or a billet shift knob, but he's thinking he might want to go with a wooden knob to match the wheel or look a little bit more classic. So we'll see. I'm sure there will be other small add-on projects as we go along, but that's basically what I'm talking about when I mention add-ons under point number 14. Outside of point number 14, it's really just doing a little bit of tuning on the engine. We're pretty happy with the way it's running, particularly since it was stored for such a long period of time. I know these cars like to be driven, and I know that this car will run even better if it's driven on a regular basis. So one thing I did want to look at, and I'd mentioned that Alin and I were going to look at another little project while he was here yesterday, and I wanted to make sure that the cold start solenoid on the speaker pump was functioning as it should. So that's actually got a small little plunger that's activated by a solenoid, and I wanted to make sure that was working. We're going to also look at some of the other aspects of the speaker pump and make sure that it's working as it should, and it's actually within the tolerance that are specified in the manual. I've been doing quite a bit of reading on the speaker and understanding it quite a bit more actually. So maybe by the end of it I'll be somewhat of a mini expert on the speaker pumps, who knows. Anyway, so we will do a little bit more tuning on the engine to get it running even better than it is. I think that's pretty much about it to the extent of the project for now. I'm sure, like I said, more things will come up, but as it is for now, I'm quite happy with the progress on the project. Things are looking good, and I'm enjoying learning more things about Alfas in general. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm rambling on a bit, so again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for commenting. We'll see you out here hopefully tomorrow after work.